illegal migrants arriving in Saint Helena are granted asylum, does that mean they can then apply to come to the UK? And if so, is that not creating another market for the people smugglers?
Mr. Speaker, could the Minister explain why the applications for refugee status made by people who've come to the British Indian Ocean Territories, as it's currently called, cannot be just processed now? And why is instead he taking them to Saint Helena? And will he guarantee that Saint Helena isn't going to become an offshore base for Britain to evade its international human rights obligations by simply sending large numbers of refugees there in the future?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't agree with his characterisation of St Helena. It is a wonderful place with wonderful people and government, and they have voluntarily entered into this agreement. And it is obviously a much, much more suitable place for anybody, were they theoretically to arrive, than Biot, which is not suitable. I'm very confident that all of our processes are compliant with international law.
So Desmond Swayne.
The opportunities available to any migrant are vastly greater in Rwanda, aren't they?
Why didn't they go there?
I mean, as my right honourable friend says to me next to me, well, why didn't they go there? I mean, 4 people for 700 million. You know, this is an absurd comparison to make. We are taking pragmatic steps to address situations that we inherited from the previous government, and there is no comparison to be made between the situation in Rwanda and the situation in St Helena.
Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If illegal migrants arriving in Saint Helena are granted asylum, does that mean they can then apply to come to the UK? And if so, is that not creating another market for the people smugglers?
No, absolutely not. There is no automatic right for them to travel from St Helena to the UK. St Helena would undertake the processing of any of those cases in a proper way, and of course anybody who failed to get a positive decision would then be removed. So St Helena would process them. There is not an automatic right to come to the UK. As with any overseas territories, after a period of time, people can apply for British Overseas Territory citizenship, but it is not automatic.
Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister has repeated several times this afternoon that no migrants have gone to Biot in the last 2 years. He studiously avoided answering my right honourable friend, the Shadow Home Secretary's important question about how many migrants he's providing a contingency for. Because in order to calculate the 6.5 million, he must know how many are likely to go there or not, as the case might be. So will he now tell the House what that number is, and will he publish the full impact assessment?
Mr. Speaker, like many people, I don't have a crystal ball. Our expectation is based on the evidence that hopefully nobody would make that journey because it is dangerous and Biot is not a suitable place for migrants. However, it is only right that we put in place contingency arrangements were somebody to do that before any treaty was concluded with Mauritius, who would then, of course, take the responsibility for dealing with any migrant arrivals after that. The 6.65 million figure is for health, it's for education, and it is to support separately, as part of the agreement we've come to with St Helena. Additional costs, if there were to be anybody, would obviously be negotiated on a case-by-case basis.
James Wilde.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister says this deal will cost £6.65 million to taxpayers. So will he now be transparent with the House and say how much UK taxpayers will be paying to Mauritius in order that we can continue to use Diego Garcia, which he gave away?
The facts relating to the agreement with Mauritius will be set out in due course to the House following the proper parliamentary scrutiny. This is very specifically about this agreement with St Helena, and I've set out what the money will be used for and the amount.